Well, hey, I wore my horror-themed
Oh,
shirt in honor of you.
oh, thank you.
It's a coffee shop up in Indy. It's got like Freddy Krueger on the back. I don't know if you saw that.
Oh, no, I didn't. Let me see.
It's like
No. Oh, dude, Freddy's my favorite.
well, it's a weird little coffee shop up in Indy. If you ever wanna go,
I'm all about the spoopies.
you still got your black Christmas tree.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. And
What color's the lights on it?
they're like purple, like purpley pink color. And I have those solar lights that you can get at like Walmart that like they're spotlights,
Mm-hmm.
and they change color. And I have those on my house, but they're purple. So my house lights up purple at night, even without the Christmas tree.
Oh,
Isn't that cute?
so you do this full time? You do it year round?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
I think I remember you telling me that.
Oh yeah. It's Halloween every day.
So when did you decide like I want to be a mortician?
Well, a lot of people have these really groundbreaking stories, and I guess mine kind of turns into that. But the reason that I got into the business is not like this heartfelt, like, oh, I wanted to help people kind of thing. I quite literally woke up one day and said, it'd be cool embalming people. And
How old were you?
I was, let's see, that was in 2014, so I would have been 25.
Okay.
Oh, giving away my age here.
Oh my God, whatever.
No, I was in school for business administration, and had kind of been a professional student at that point, and I didn't really know what I wanted to do. I was just like lost. So I was like, I'm just gonna get a business degree. You can do a lot with it. Well, I was about 6 months away from finishing that degree when I woke up and said, it'd be cool embalming people. And once I got the idea in my head, I couldn't get rid of it. I couldn't stop thinking about it. And so I did some research and learned that there was an Ivy Tech program and here in Indiana. And so I just basically applied and I never looked back. And the thing is, though, once I got into the funeral business and started working, of course, graduated school and everything, I learned that it really actually does help people a lot. And that's kind of why I'm still in it. Of course, about me losing my parents and that when I lost my mom, I became a little bit better at my job. And then when I lost my dad and the circumstances around that, I became really good at my job because I had I had the experience of grief from both ends of the spectrum of expecting a death with my mom and then not expecting it with my dad. And of course, being the one to find him.
Yeah.
And I was able to relate to a lot of people that way. And they kind of, the families helped me as much as I helped them because I was grieving after my dad and everything. And so that's it. After that, basically, it became more than just a job for me. And it's really changed my life, given me a purpose, I guess, if you will. So
I was going to say, if I could think about marrying someone up to a job and how you are, like your personality and kind of just how I don't know, you seem like the perfect person that would be in that line of work.
Oh, thank you.
Like you understand when you were explaining all this stuff to me, I was like, and then that might just be from experience because you've done it for a while, but I don't know. Do you think there has to be some kind of, because I haven't met very many people in the funeral industry, but do you think there's like a certain personality type?
Yeah. They always told us in mortuary school, and anybody that I've ever worked for has always said, you can teach anybody to embalm a body, but you can't teach people how to be a funeral director. Mm-hmm. And that is true. People think that, all we do is sit around and play with dead bodies in the basement all day. That's part of it. But no, no, that's only about 10% of the job. The rest of it is the families and directing funerals and things like that. And you have to have a certain personality and a certain level of patience and understanding because people are grieving and they're not acting right sometimes.
Yeah, no, I mean, you have to be delicate. You have to know what to say.
Yeah.
And then you have to bring in finance because it's not free.
Right.
But so there's a delicate balance between, hey, you're grieving, and on top of that, you're bringing in, this is the this is the price range for kind of what you want. I don't know, but
and I need it before the service. That's always fun.
Yeah, but I mean, yeah, hats off to you. Seriously, like that would be what's mortuary school like?
It's pretty cool, I guess. Honestly, it's hard. It's really hard. And they do that on purpose. It's not impossible, but it is difficult because they want to weed out the people who are just in it to be like, "Ugh, I'm a mortician," like, because, like, okay, when I started mortuary school, there was a dude that wore this trench coat to school every day and had black fingernails. And listen, I'm creepy, okay? Like, I like the black fingernails just as much as the next guy, but that's not, we have to kind of separate those things.
The weirdos.
Yeah.
The like legit,
yeah.
like I think there's a difference in, I grew up watching horror movies and obviously this red and black painted room. I love the, dark side of things, but it's also like, yeah, you could potentially have some legit like,
oh yeah,
necrophiliacs even.
Yeah, I mean, you never know. And to give you kind of an idea of how hard it is, we started out in our class with 35 people. I think we ended with like 26 or something over 11 months. So, I mean, they really do weed out the people who aren't serious. If you're serious about it, you'll be fine. It's just you have to really work for it. So it is hard. There's a lot of homework. There's a lot of studying. And then after mortuary school, there is what's called a national board exam. It's kind of like a nursing board exam or anything else that lawyers take. And it's like 300 questions. And if you don't pass this test, you don't get a license. So your degree is useless at that point. So you go through all the schooling.
For nothing.
Yeah. So I passed the test, thankfully, on the first try because I studied my ass off. And then you have to do an internship, a paid internship for a year. And then you have a state board exam you have to take, and it's different, obviously, per state. And then you get your funeral director's license. So it's all these steps you have to take to get there. And it's not easy, but it's, once I have to tell this story really quick because
please.
Because this was a kind of a pivotal moment. I recently had a girl that job shadowed me for her senior project, and she got into the Senior Project Hall of Fame, by the way. You're welcome, Audrey. But no, she was awesome. But and I had written her a letter once she was done with her job shadowing, and I told her this story about the best advice my mom ever gave me. And when I learned all of the steps that you had to take to get into mortuary school, I was like, oh my God, that's so much. Like, not just to get into mortuary school, but to get into the business. I was like, that's so much. That's too much. It's going to take too long. And I left the meeting with my advisor that day who was telling me all of this stuff. And I called my mom and I said, Mom, I'm not going to do it. It's going to take too long. I'm almost done with my business degree and I just want to be finished with that and be done with school. And she was like, okay, well, I support you, whatever you do, but let me ask you something. If you give up on your mortuary school dream or whatever, where are you going to be in 5 years? And I said, well, probably working in an insurance company or whatever you do with a business degree,
Mm-hmm.
And she said, and if you go for the mortuary school thing, where are you going to be in 5 years? And I said, probably working in a funeral home and doing something that I actually want to do. And she's like, the time is going to pass no matter what. Like, don't shy away from doing something that you want to do because you think it's going to be too hard or it's going to take too long. And she's like, you're going to regret that if you don't.
Yeah,
and
you will.
She said it a lot more eloquently than that, but basically, I'm not sure where I was going with that, but I think
you were talking about the senior project and maybe.
Yeah. But basically, it's hard to get into the business. It's not easy because then once you graduate, then you have to find a funeral home that's willing to take you. And that's also hard to do, especially as a female. But it was worth it because I can't believe I've been in the business for 10 years now. And it's just like the time just went like that. And it's just like there was a time when I dreamed of being here and being able to call myself a funeral director and being like, oh, I have all this experience. And it just seems like it was just yesterday. And now here I am. So being on a podcast and stuff.
Well, I got to say, people were so excited because I was like telling people, I was like, well, I've had an ER doctor on and I'm going to try to get this type of person on. And I said, I'm going to have a mortician. And that's like, which the ER doctor, man, he was phenomenal.
Yeah.
But then, and he held back. I think he held back a lot. I think he wanted to. But when I mention you, they're just like, oh my God, mortician. And I'm like, yeah. And they're like, yeah, I don't know. anything about it, and is it how do you pronounce? Is it macabre?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, it's like it's spelled like macabre, like MECABRE or something. Anyways, but there's a human fascination with it.
Oh, for sure.
And obviously, you doing the job, man, like you said, it's 10% of it. And then you have to deal with family, and you have to deal with all the other aspects of it. The insurance part, right? And then like the insurance, like you have to be licensed to.
Oh yeah, I'm licensed to sell life insurance, but it's a limited lines license, meaning I can only sell burial insurance. So I can't.
But you have to deal with that.
I still had to go to insurance school and get a license and keep that up every 2 years or whatever it is.
Yeah, but people don't know that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think you might be my silver bullet. You might be the one that's like. Get me. I'm just kidding. But I hope. Hey, I mean, I think people are fast. I know people are fascinated.
Oh, for sure. When I was single, it was a great pickup line at the bar. People would be like, "Oh, what do you do for a living?" Well, I'm a mortician, and it was like immediately couldn't get rid of them.
Really?
Oh, for sure. It was like,
I'd be scared you were going to pull out the embalming fluid on me or something. Like, what is that? That's not lube.
Yeah.
Like that's.
Don't mess with me. I can get rid of a body.
Yeah. Well, and. So can you describe the embalming process?
I can. I figured this was going to be a question. So you've seen it, so you're familiar with what we do. But basically it starts out, we have to set features, and that's because nobody dies pretty. It's not like it is in the movies where everybody's like, oh, all nice. No, everybody dies with their mouth and eyes open pretty much, with a few exceptions. But for the most part, that's pretty standard. So we have to close their mouth and close their eyes. And so to do that, we have, for the mouth, there's a couple different ways to do it, but a lot of people use what's called a needle injector. And it's just exactly what it sounds like. And there's like a little like tack nail type thing that has a wire on the end of it. And that needle injector injects that tack into the bone of your top jaw and your bottom jaw, and then there's wires and you twist them together, and that holds the mouth closed.
Damn.
So it's pretty wicked. I actually do it a way more wicked way. I do what's called I think it's called a dental tie. I don't remember. I have a piece of paper that says I know all of that stuff, so I don't have to prove anything to you.
As long as you can do it.
Yeah. But basically it's just a needle with a string on it, and you go kind of down through in front of the front teeth, like in between the bottom lip and the front teeth, or the bottom teeth, and out the bottom of the chin, and then back up through in between the top teeth and the top lip, out the nose with the needle. So you got the string on the end of the needle, and then through the septum, back down, tie it together, and that's how you hold it. I do that because the needle injector is really hard for my little tiny hands to use.
Yeah, that sounds... Wow. I mean,
it's
obviously they don't feel it, but
no, but and a lot of people get really weird about that because they're dead. Well, it's no different than surgeries. I mean, we don't do anything any worse than what surgeries do.
No, that's true. Yeah, that's very true.
But anyway, after that, then you got to shave them. Everybody does it different, I guess, but I usually shave after that because everybody gets shaved, even women, because cosmetics lay better on their face that way. And then you make an incision on the right collarbone. About maybe an inch, 2 inches long, and then you got to dig through all that fascia, the fascia, if you will. kind of like cleaning a chicken. Weird to say that, I know, but that's exactly what it's like. You got to find the jugular vein and then the carotid artery, and then you cut both of them open. You put these forceps in the vein that are like, I don't know, maybe 8 inches long or so.
Jesus.
Yeah, they're really long, and you stick them down in the vein, and that helps hold it open for drainage. And then you cut open the carotid artery, put your cannula in there, mix up your fluids in the machine, and then start injecting. You say a prayer to Jesus that it will go well, and then start injecting and hope the blood comes out. And you do that for, maybe 2 or 3 tanks, depending on the person. And then this is the wicked part that a lot of people don't know about. Afterwards, now you've embalmed the circulatory system at this point, all of the veins and everything, but you have not done anything with the organs, and the organs are the first ones to go. So we have to take what's called a trocar, and surgeons use this too. Particularly for liposuction, which I've had done, so no shame in my game. But so they basically use what I use in me, which is weird. But So they take a trocar, they put it in your abdomen, and it sucks out all the fluids from your organs.
Yeah, that thing is wicked.
It's wicked, isn't it? Yeah. If you don't know what a trocar is,
it's like a spear with a. It's like a giant needle. But
yeah, it's about yay
a few
long.
feet long. Yeah.
Yeah, and I know if you're listening, you can't tell how yay
Google
long
it.
is, but Google it. Yes, it will
it's
be something of your nightmares.
Yeah.
So
you're puncturing that, and it's sucking out. Yeah.
Sucking out the fluid of the organs, which is always so satisfying. I'm not gonna lie, but. And then after that, you put another trocar in, which injects the cavity fluid, which is the embalming fluid for the organs. It's super, super strong fluid. And if you spill it, you got to clear the room for a minute because it will burn your throat and your nose and everything. But and then you put what's called a trocar button in the hole that you just made. And it
is that the threaded thing?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
It's like a little threaded screw you put in there. And that's it. Also, you do have to make sure the person's positioned how you want them positioned for eternity, because once you embalm them, they don't move. So that's
hardens them up.
Yeah.
Yeah. So like rigor mortis, that sets in, and then doesn't that dissipate?
Mm-hmm.
So in that stage, let's say they've been dead for a week.
Mm-hmm. Ooh.
Oh man, I don't know if that's a good. I don't listen. I'm not.
It depends on the person, honestly.
But they're not in rigor anymore.
No, definitely
okay,
not.
so that the embalming process, it stiffens them right back up.
I'm told that once somebody is out of rigor, they won't firm back up once they're embalmed. I don't know if I've not had enough experience with somebody who's been dead that long to know that. Because to be honest with you, typically at that point, I would try to talk the family out of it, because it's not going to go very well.
That was a bad example on my part then.
No, you're fine. But like autopsies, for instance,
yeah.
People are usually gone for a while before we get them at that point, because they have the autopsy. They don't get in a hurry for that. They'll be like, oh, we'll do it Monday, and then so we're not getting them till Monday night or Tuesday, and they're already out of rigor by then. And usually people who have been autopsied don't firm back up once it comes out. And plus they've had a lot of stuff done to them by then anyway. So, and that's another thing. The embalming process for someone who's been autopsied is a whole different ball game. So
I was going to say they've been butchered already.
Yes. Yeah. And we have to open them back up and do it from the inside and take all their organs out. And
they put their organs in like a bag, right?
Yep.
I've seen that.
Yeah. And my job as an intern was always to put cuts in the organs in the bag and put the fluid in the bag, because it smells god awful. It's horrible. So
what do you think kills most people?
Oh gosh, I'd say cancer. For sure, cancer, hands down.
And the cancer patients are easier to. Is it true they're easier to embalm?
In my experience, yes, they are.
Because they got a good. The pipes are good.
They are. It's something about those tumors will like open up that circulatory system, man. It's like they just embalm like a sponge. I mean, it's beautiful in a weird way. Like it sounds bad, but
no, it does. No, I mean, you got to look at it from an objective.
Right. Yeah, it is a more of a clinical standpoint.
You have an arcane knowledge of what require. I mean, because at the end of the day, I look at it this way: if you do a bad job. Listen, I don't remember I don't remember. I wanted to tell you this earlier, but this would be the greatest time to do it. There was a guy that was, his brother was at the funeral. Mm-hmm. His brother had died. And this guy was probably our age, young. I mean, he shouldn't be, ideally he shouldn't be dead anyway. Mm-hmm. But he started leaking out of his hole there, where you guys go in. Mm-hmm. And the family's seeing this, like in the viewing, and they're like, "Oh my God, yeah, he was like leaking out." Yeah. And so, if you don't do a good job at these things, and you don't, like you said, it's like you're not satisfied, like in a morbid way. You're satisfied because it's like that's going to make my job easier, and I'm going to be able to do this better and move on and do X, Y, and Z better. So
yeah, and we joke a lot. You have to.
You gotta have it's called gallows humor. You gotta have it.
You have to. Otherwise, you're just gonna be like depressed all the time. But we joke a lot. But we have a lot of what we call shop talk. In the embalming room. But at the end of the day, it is. I still treat everybody as if their family was there watching. Like I don't do anything to anybody that I wouldn't do in front of their family. And I genuinely want to give people a good last image of their loved one. And when it doesn't work out, I really take it hard.
Personal, yeah. Well, Yeah, listen, the darkest, the people with the darkest humor are nurses. I mean, well, they're up. I mean, I've heard, and like, I was sitting there getting my oil changed or something done in my car one time, and these mechanics, I'm like, Jesus Christ, like the stuff they were talking about. And I'm like, well, you know what, man, they change oil all day, so
Yeah.
And then like with your line of work, I was thinking about this before you came over here. I had to jot it down in my notebook, but like it's a polarizing thing to see someone, and you kind of confirmed it, like they've not been gone very long by the time you guys, and not being autopsy, like,
right.
Or sometimes they just passed.
Right. Yeah. Usually, at least where I worked anyway, a standard case was within an hour or so. By the time we got them, they had just passed.
So. An hour ago or an hour and a half ago, they were alive. Maybe they were terminally ill or unconscious, but some people obviously die in their kitchen. You know, is it polarizing to you, or like kind of harrowing? Not harrowing, but like it's just a crazy thing to think about. Like it's a pretty thin veil between living and dying.
Oh yes. Like
what
really screws me up the most, even to this day, and I've been doing this 10 years, but it still gets to me, especially like the tragic deaths, the young people. I'm like, I can't help but always think the whole time, this person was alive this morning. They got out of bed, they got dressed, they brushed their teeth. They had no idea that by the end of today, they would be on this table with me. Like, and that screws with me so much. And it's scary because that could be any of us.
Yeah. I'm not gonna, like, I've as the older I've gotten too, I haven't shied away from religion. I believe there is a higher power. I believe there's a creator. I believe we're here for some reason.
I hope so. Oh my God.
Unbeknownst to us. But I tell people, I'm like, man, I'm scared. I'm like, dude, listen, if I die, I don't know. I mean, you know, I've got friends from several different religions, but I'm like, yeah, they're like you said, they get up that morning, they have their little morning routine, they go to work, and then they get killed in a car accident that afternoon or whatever it is. And it's like, you know, we always think at our age, like, oh, I got time to figure it out. I got time. And it's like, you don't really know if you have time or not. You
don't. And that, you know, my own personal experience with death and losing my dad so suddenly, and like just being exposed to it every single day, of people's lives are getting turned upside down all the time, and we're seeing that all the time. It's like it really changes your perspective of life and what really matters. And I see people in my life, my friends and stuff, get bent out of shape about things, and I'm just like, man, it is just not worth it. There are just very few things that are worth
truly getting Yeah, I mean, yeah, that to me is probably like the biggest thing I thought about when I was going to interview you, was like, that morning or the day before, that person was alive, and now they're, you know, it's like a steel table.
Yeah, just a metal table.
Isn't it slanted?
Yeah, it tilts, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And there's like channels on the outside. I can't remember.
Yeah, there's like channels where the blood can run down.
Like the Underworld movies.
Yeah, it's literally, a lot of movies are pretty accurate, but a lot of them aren't.
I was going to ask you, I was watching, I never finished it. I think I got into like the second season. It's called 6 Feet Under.
Oh, yeah.
HBO show.
Oh, yeah.
It's on Netflix now.
Is it?
I thought about starting it over, but, how, do you ever watch TV shows and you're like, what?
Oh, yeah.
Like, what are they doing?
Yeah, all the time, especially like when it'll show like a dead body that's obviously not dead. Like there's a big difference, you know, even if somebody is just died, there's a difference, a big one, between somebody who's alive and dead.
That's why I believe we have a soul too. Like I tell people, like, yeah, you can tell, like, obviously there's physiological differences in a alive person and dead person. But yeah, I mean, there's just some different, even if they just passed, it's like that twinkle's gone.
Oh yeah,
right?
I was there in the room when my mom passed. Like I was holding her hand, and it was like just, she took a breath and then she was just not there anymore. And it was so bizarre waiting for the funeral home to come, even though I did it for a living at that point too. Just waiting for the funeral home to come and like sitting in that room and with my mom's body, and like she was very much not there. Like it was very different. Even though she was unconscious beforehand, there was a big difference. And the night that I came home, the night before I found my dad, I came home and I could feel something was off in his apartment. I could feel it just felt very empty, but I just was like, no, I'm just being, I don't know.
Overreacting.
Yeah, I'm just overreacting. I'm just like imagining things. It's fine. It's no big deal. And I went in and went to bed, and that morning I found him. And I don't know when he actually passed, but I think he was already gone when I got home, just because of the way the apartment felt. His door, I walked past his door, and I felt it was very, very empty feeling. And he had been sick before that with like a cold. We thought, I think it was COVID at this point.
I hear that a lot, man. I hear, and it terrifies me, like, kind of an eerie story. The guy that was going to finish the drywall in here, we had gotten it hung, and he was going to come in and like tape and mud it and make it look all, and he was going to actually paint. And listen, he had talked to me the week before. He was 47.
Oh, wow.
Went home. He was like staining his deck, out doing some yard work, and he got a headache. And he came in, he told his wife, he's like, I really have a headache. She's like, I'll go get you some Tylenol. Just this benign seeming harmless thing. And he went and laid down, and massive aneurysm killed him.
God.
She went to like the drugstore, came back, he was gone.
Oh my God.
Which they still tried. They took him to like University of Louisville, and but I mean he was already gone.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's fascinating, it's eerie, and it really kind of makes, for me anyway, it makes me think about I don't know. It's like that's something you can't really do anything about.
Right.
And it's like you have to, in other words, submit to this. I mean, higher power or whatever's going on out there, God. Yeah. I mean, you have to say, hey, like we're fascinating creatures. I think, I would rather be a human than any other mammal out there, but it's still like we're pretty fragile, and we're pretty, our time here on Earth is, in all comparison, pretty short-lived.
It really is. Humans are resilient, but they're also very fragile, because people can survive some of the craziest things for years. They can have these things wrong with them and just keep going. But at the same time, it can be ripped away just like that. Like it's so bizarre. And really, when you think about it, I know every year that goes by, my life seems to go faster and faster. And I think about just how fast the last 10 years has gone, and how fast the next 10 years is going to go. And before I know it, I'm going to be, hopefully, 70. I don't think I'll live past my 60s, but that's just me. I'm here for a good time, not a long time. No. Both my parents were in their 60s, so that's why I say that. But anyway, no.
You never know.
You never know. I mean, and one day I'm going to be, 70, 75, hopefully, and be like, where the hell did it go? Like, how did that happen so fast? And it's really going to happen faster than all of us realize. Yeah.
But at the same time, like you said, you're enjoying what you do. And I think that's the biggest catalyst to, obviously, social media. And this is kind of a little quick tangent, but most people, I would say I'd put it in the high 90 percentile range. Most people don't do remotely what they love to do. They do what gives them a paycheck, and or their job to job to job. And it's like, I'll take the challenges of, because I really enjoy what I do. You and I were talking before about just the stuff that comes with jobs, and that's every job. But it's like, at the end of the day, I'm like, what the meat and potatoes, do I enjoy what I'm doing, and is there a purpose behind it? And if there is, I mean, there's not very much out there. It's almost like the dating scene.
Yeah, you kind of have to. God, I do not want to be back in that madness. Woo!
Listen, I don't either.
Yeah, no, thank you. But really, like, once you find, it's kind of like my partner. Like, he has his flaws, but like when it comes down to it, he's like everything that I would want. And it's kind of like that with a job too. It's like, if you find a good one, just stick with it, man. You're gonna have complaints about everything.
You get people that are so like, I'm not gonna settle. And it's like, bro, you are going to just drive yourself out of any opportunity. Because but most people, though, they're so scared of taking a chance. It's like, okay, you are settling, like you're just doing something, that you shouldn't be doing,
right?
Or you're just not happy and you're okay with it. And I don't know. I've never wanted to be that person to wait until retirement. And you're not. No, you're definitely not in that category of person. But Oh, you brought up something earlier that I was really intrigued by. What kind of during, I guess, the embalming process and stuff, how would you guys deal with like grievous injuries? Like, I don't want to say like too much, but like maybe someone's possibly been decapitated or someone's, I don't know, there's some severe trauma to the body. How would you guys deal with that?
It depends on the trauma. In fact, asking about, I've never had anybody that's been decapitated. However, that was a national board question that I had to answer.
Oh,
we
wow.
learned about the specific process for that in school. And basically you have to embalm the body and the head separately, and then you have to take a rod and stick it down and stick the head back on the rod. I mean, it's as archaic as it sounds. I've never experienced it personally, but that's what you do. Now, I'll be honest, the trauma stuff, that never gets any easier to deal with for me anyway. I know you do have to shut it off when you're dealing with it because you have a job to do and you have to finish it, and you can't just like, run away from it. But so you do have to kind of compartmentalize a lot of stuff. But the trauma stuff is once you've seen one, you've seen it all. And it really depends on the injury. If somebody's, say, been in a car accident and they've got cuts on their face or something, you would treat it with either a surface embalming gel or there's other types of products that we can use. But then for cosmetic purposes, we would use wax to cover it up. And they have different wax of different consistencies.
Wax?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. In fact, in mortuary school, I had to build a whole face out of wax.
Wax?
Yeah.
And you shape it? You can shape it? And...
Yeah, you can shape it and make it look like body parts, which I've never had to build a body part out of wax. I don't think. I think most of us
pretty
wouldn't.
far. Yeah.
Yeah, but for purposes of like filling in cuts or say somebody has like a I had one recently. There was a guy that had a bruise really bad on his face I couldn't cover with cosmetics, and so I was able to use a little bit of the thin lip wax, which is like a really viscous consistency, and cover it up that way, and then cover it with cosmetics. And so wax is really versatile. You can use it for a lot of things. So you would use that to cover anything that's going to show. And I'm sure there's other things I don't know about. There's this stuff called Easy Way. That's you mix it up. It's a powder and a liquid. You mix it up and it becomes like skin consistency, sort of.
Is that available to the market? I'm not asking for personal.
It is. I don't think so. I think it's only available because embalming products you have to have a funeral director's license to buy them. I think, and maybe even a business license. I'm not
I
really
wouldn't want
sure.
that to get into the hands of the wrong person.
Yeah.
No, I've always wanted to do some kind of crazy Halloween thing, and I was always thinking like, I don't know. I love Halloween. I know you do too. I mean, I love.
Oh yeah, Halloween every day.
Well, yeah, you do live Halloween every day.
But yeah, no, you could use that Easy Way stuff probably for some kind of prosthetics, for something like that. I'm sure if you were good with good with it.
It's fascinating. That's really fascinating. I didn't know about the wax and you have to have, I guess, several different options because, and every situation is different. And I guess, would it depend on the skill of the person that's doing the cosmetics and stuff?
Yeah. In fact, my other half is also a funeral director, for those of you that don't know. He is the owner of the competition of the funeral home that I recently worked at. But so it's super scandalous. But anyways, he loves to do the restorative art stuff. He's really, really good at it too. And in fact, the coroner here in town, they had a young guy that I think committed suicide. And the coroner told the family, there's no way you can have an open casket. And my other half was able to have an open casket with the work that he did.
Yeah, so that's kind of where I was going with that, was if the family wants an open casket, are you, if it's too far gone or they fell out of a freaking, I don't know, it's something crazy. What are you able? You're like, okay, listen, we're gonna try everything we can to make sure that it's possible for you guys to have a open casket, or is it like you're trying to? Man, my microphone was trying to get away from me here. Yeah, maybe. Are you trying to appease them for the most part, or you're like, hey, we can't do it?
usually when I talk to the family in those circumstances, I haven't seen the body yet. I've usually only heard from the coroner or whoever what the circumstances are. And so I usually tell them I'm going to have to wait and see what we're dealing with. And then at that point, I would make an educated guess. And usually I can tell pretty quickly if I can do something or not. And if I can't, like, say somebody took a 12 gauge to the bottom of their chin, at that point.
Ooh.
Yeah, at that point, there's there's nothing I can do. But I would just have the conversation. And I've learned over the years that being straightforward and honest and just using very clinical terms is the best way to go, and just not holding anything back. You want to be honest, and you want them to understand the situation. They have a right to know, that's their loved one. But you don't also want to give a lot of details if they're not going to see the person. But, you just tell them, I've assess the situation, and I'm so sorry. I don't think that there's anything that we can do to have an open casket. And then I would offer other options, like, we could maybe have you guys come in and we'll cover up their face if you want to be able to hold their hand for a minute or something like that. Just anything that I can offer that would give them the closure that they need. If we can't do what they want, I want to be able to offer something. And also there are circumstances where we try and it maybe, in our opinion, doesn't look so great, but we've tried, and we leave it up to the family at that point if they want to leave the casket open. But if they're going to see them, then you need to give them details. You need to give them as gruesome details as you can, because they're going to see it anyways. And our trick is you make it sound way worse than it is. So that way.
Yeah, that's a good tactic.
Yeah. So
I guess it is a tactic, but you're not trying to lie to them. You're trying to, because some people have different thresholds of what they consider to be.
Yeah. So you want to give them every last detail you can. Mm-hmm. I had a situation where I was at the morgue, and it was a gentleman about my age that had died, and his mother was outside the morgue wanting to see him. And the security guards were like, what do we do? And I was like, I'll go talk to her. So I went out and talked to her, and I told her everything. I said, you can see him, but I'd really rather you wait till I get him back to the funeral home and do what I do before you see him. She insisted, and I said, okay, well, let me tell you what you're going to see. And I told her everything.
Spelled it out.
Yep, just everything. And I was like, I'm just being very transparent with you because you're about to see it anyway. So I just want you to know what you're about to see. So you can make an educated decision on if you do want to see that. She was fine. So it was, that's subjective, but she was okay in that moment.
Well, yeah, you do everything you can, and then if they're still persistent, it's like, all right.
Yeah.
The one thing, and this is probably one of the biggest things I wanted to talk to you about. People have this misconception that you put them in a vault after the funeral. They're lowered into the ground. They're getting buried. They think that no creepy crawlies or water is going to they're just going to be intact for the next millennia. Yeah, exactly. The Egyptians got it down, I think. But it's a different process, and the weather's different.
Totally different. Now, I will say, I've seen photos of people who've been dug up after 20 years or something, and sometimes they look exactly as they did when they went in the ground. Sometimes
they got pickled really good.
Yeah, it really just depends on how well they're embalmed and their body chemistry and stuff, but for the most part, no. You're gonna have the vaults leaking, and the people are gonna decay, and I used to say, when I would embalm somebody, if I got their leg really, really good for some reason, I'd be like, that leg's gonna be here forever.
Oh, so it can even go down to the neck, to the certain sections of the body.
Oh yeah, I'm sure. I don't know for certain, but I'm sure.
I've seen pictures of exhumed bodies, and I'm like, this person was buried. The eeriest one, the worst ones are like 6 months, a year.
Yeah.
And there's mold growing even, and it's like, listen, man, we start breaking down, and because in essence, the embalming process is just to get them through that.
Yeah, it can hold a lot of times for quite some time, though.
Okay.
I had a lady last year we held for 2.5 months and still showed her.
The funeral?
Yep.
Dang.
We had to take a lot of precautions because we knew that ahead of time that it was going to be that long. But yeah, we still showed her. She looked okay, I guess.
As good as, yeah, that's crazy.
She still looked the same as she did when she was first embalmed, I'll say that.
No, that's remarkable.
Yeah, it was.
So people, when your loved one gets buried, My parents have been gone for a long time. I get it. We all lose someone, but yeah, I don't know. My poor aunt, she lost her husband in 2022. Died on his birthday. Vietnam vet.
Oh.
Got him those beautiful military vault. Like the lining, it was beautiful. It's like a, I don't know, nice blue. And anyways, and she's like, yeah, that's really gonna. She said something, really gonna hold him out and all that. And I'm like, listen, like, yeah, water and yeah, that's a huge misconception. Like airtight. All this stuff.
Yeah.
Some
of them are more airtight than others, and they really do seal tight, because when we have like a false grave set up, when there's water in the grave or whatever, they'll seal that vault and they'll pick it up just by those little handles that are on it. And I mean that seal is holding it together, so they're sealed really well. But just like everything, it only lasts so long.
I've heard of caskets exploding.
I think they probably could, especially
the gases building up, maybe.
Yeah, because there are caskets that seal. There's a gasket around it, and you turn it. You know, you take the casket key and you stick it in the end, and you turn it, and it seals it 26.5 times if it's a base fill. So.
Wow, girl knows her stuff.
I know, but no, they do seal, and it's just airtight. You know, but I think the air pressure could potentially, you know, because the person's releasing gases and stuff, and I mean, I'm sure. I know that when we send caskets on an airplane, we don't seal them for that reason. We don't want them to, the air pressure changes and stuff, we don't want them to implode or explode. Oh. Yeah, so they don't get sealed before the airplane. So.
Well, listen, this was very fascinating. I knew it would be. I don't want my cameras to die again.
Yeah, that would just leave the pits.
Freaking mic already fell off the thing. But I think we have... I looked at like the internet's most asked questions. I'm sure there's something 3 days from now I'm going to be like, dang it, why didn't I ask her this? Wow. But at the end of the day, yeah, I mean, no, I knew like everybody that I talked to was like, this is going to be, that would be really, really cool because
a lot of people nobody knows what happens. Nobody talks about it, what happens after death. And to be quite honest, I didn't even know when I first got into the business, and it blew my mind to learn that while the first embalming I ever saw was a 30-year-old that had hung herself. And it was not at the place that I used to work. It was at a different place. But it blew my ever-loving mind that her family was above us in the arrangement office while she was getting embalmed. That just, I could not believe it, because I didn't know what happened to bodies after they died. Like, I just thought they'd stayed in the morgue until their funeral. I don't know. Guess I never really thought about it. But it just, like, blew my mind that was happening. But it's normal. I mean, there's lots of times that I've been embalming someone and then had to go up and meet their family 10 minutes later, you know, just derobe and carry on.
Yeah, you've been doing it for a minute.
Yeah.
And it's probably not a strange occurrence to you anymore.
No, but to the general public, nobody really knows what happens after death. I've had so many families ask me, where is mom now, or where's dad now, or whatever. And nobody knows what happens and the process to get ready for a funeral, everything that goes into it. So,
well, I think that you explaining kind of, you have a lot of compassion, and you have to delegate all these different things. So, I mean, listen, like I said, hats off to you. I don't think I could do it. It's not the gruesomeness of it. It's just, it's a lot.
It is. And most people can't. I think there's only maybe 25% of my graduating class that's still in the business now. So,
yeah,
most of them
that speaks volumes.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that was a good one. That was a damn good one. And I really appreciate you coming.
Well, you're welcome. This was fun.
It was. If you ever want to come back, let me know.
Well, hey, I'm all for it. That was super fun.